Hi there crafty friends, I have another of these videos. I've had quite a few requests to create another one. It's a video where I have filmed myself decorating a journal from beginning to end. I have the whole process down and I've put it on high speed, and I'm going to talk you through some of the things that I've done on each page. The total time that I spent on this is roughly 4.5 hours, and I did about 48 different clips because I would have to stop and start the video. So I've obviously added all the clips together and I've put it onto high speed to try get it down to a more viewable time, as I think 4.5 hours of a regular speed would put anyone to sleep. I do have a full flip through of the entire journal. I'll put a link in the description below. This was part of a design team project for Luise Heinzl, and I'm using her Christmas kit called Feliz Navidad. On this first page, I've added a double pocket. I've just used a piece of cardstock and then a piece of printed vellum as a smaller pocket in the front. I've stitched around with the sewing machine just to attach the pages together and to give it a little bit more texture, and then I've stuck it to the page with a hot glue. I'm now adding a tag. These are tags from the kit, and what I do is I stick them onto a cardstock. This is to make them a little bit firmer and easier to write on, and also to give them a contrasting color when you turn them over. Here I'm also adding a plain craft tag, and then also in the back there's a large Project Life card that I thought the colors suited the theme, and I also needed something big for the back so that fitted well. I'm also adding a small ribbon which got like a printed vintage text on, just to give it a little bit more contrast. As I go through, I tend to color in or decorate the blank pages. I don't like too much stark white. I didn't coffee stain this kit. I normally coffee stain my pages, as I wanted to do this kind of painting, and I like the white to be able to work with these techniques. I've added a little bit of pink acrylic paint, and then once that's dry I'm going to do some stenciling. I'm using some texture paste and this stencil. This stencil is just from Kmart here in Australia, but you could use any stencil that you have. I say this often, and there's no right and wrong way of decorating your pages. You can do them any way you like. This is just the way I do it. I like to do a little bit of what I would assume would be called maybe just some kind of art journaling on the pages. I don't always like to just stick things down. I like to put textures underneath, and this is how I do it. If you feel inspired to do something similar, that's fantastic. If you just want to do it your way, that's also great. Anything goes, and there's no right and wrong, which is what is really great about art. I'm adding some layers here. I've used a piece of cheesecloth just above the paint that I've just done, and I've got some music notes and then some pieces from the kit that I'm just going to keep adding and making some layers. This is a recipe card that I have. I've got actually a whole pack of different recipe cards that I have found in one of those $2 shops, and I'm going to use that in the journal, but I'm finding that it's looking a little bit too new and shiny, so I'm just going to mute that down a bit. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add this white piece of tissue paper over it. I'm using some Mod Podge to glue it down, and then putting the layer of Mod Podge over the tissue paper too. That is already looking better. It's not looking so new and bright. And once it's dry, I'm going to trim off the excess tissue paper, and then I'm going to use some ink just to edge it and give it a little bit more of a used or vintagey feel. I'm continuing with my layering, and once I'm happy with the composition, I'm going to stick everything down with the hot glue. When I do these embellishment stacks through the book, I tend to use the pages or papers that I've used throughout the journal. I find this connects everything and makes it match. So not everything is sort of, if you have a different colored paper on each page that isn't appearing anywhere else in the journal, it's a little bit sort of on its own, doesn't match up or link up to anything. So I try to use the same designs and papers throughout as I go, so it links everything up and everything is connected. To finish this page off, I'm using a pink watercolor pencil to do a frame around the page. I like the way it balances off and doesn't leave the center part that I've done just sort of on its own. I think it finishes it off, it frames it well, and this page is done. I like making snippet strips in my journals. I've done it in previous ones and I'm going to do it in this one too. I'm going to put quite a few throughout the book, and what I do is I just cut a strip of paper the length of the page edge that I want to add it to, and then I add little bits of elements from just the little scraps that I have from the book, different color cardstocks, some textured papers. I've got a bit of a doily there, some cheesecloth. Again, using items that are used throughout the journal, so everything connect, the colors connect, the textures connect. I just position them in a way that I like, and then I'm going to use my sewing machine just to do a running stitch down the center so everything is joined up. I will then stick the snippet strip onto the page with the hot glue. If you don't have a sewing machine to run down the center of the snippet strip, that's fine. You can stick the little elements directly onto the page. It doesn't have to be separate with the stitching. I just like to do the stitching as I like the little strings hanging off and out of the book, and I've done a bit more stitching throughout the journal, but you certainly don't have to do it that way. There are other ways to do the snippet strips. Here I'm adding a piece of coffee stained lined paper onto the page, and I'm attaching that with some double-sided tape. I'm going to add another pocket. I'm using a piece of the cardstock, and I'm going to add the pocket on the side with the craft paper. I just measure a piece. I don't measure very accurately. I sort of just see where it's going to fit and I mark it with my finger, and then I either tear it with a ruler or use my cutter. This is a double-sided piece of cardstock, which is great, so I'll fold it up to make a second pocket in the front. Now everything is coordinating. The papers that I've used for the pocket and the paper you can see sort of in the background with the candies, that's all from the same kit, so everything matches up. I forgot to mention the pocket that I've just added. I did do some stitching with the sewing machine down each side after I had folded it up. When I add the tags, I obviously have tags that are part of the digital kit, but I also do tend to add some plain tags so it balances it out. Otherwise it can get a little bit too busy if everything has a picture on it. This piece that I'm adding now is actually the centerpiece of a specimen card that I'm adding to the journal. I have a video, process video for that specimen card, and I'll put the link in the description below. I've also just added a folded piece of coffee stained paper at the very back of the pocket. It's a good backdrop for the tags and it's additional journaling space. For more dimension, I'm adding some silver thread to one of the tags. I've used the same silver thread on the cover of the journal, and I'll use it a couple of times through the journal too. These are the specimen cards that I just mentioned previously. Just a reminder, there's an instructional video and I have the link in the description below. I'm going to add some more paper layering on this page. I have a picture of a little Christmas house that's part of the digital kit, and I'm just putting pieces of cardstock as it's going to be its background. So I'm just finding colors that suit. I'm just tearing very roughly. I will eventually then cut a little bit neater because I decided that I don't really like the rough end. I wanted more of a tidy end. I've done some stitching all the way around each of the background pieces. I've used black thread and I've gone around twice using some zigzag and some straight stitch, and I've purposefully not gone over the lines correctly. I want it quite rough and uneven. I'm now going to also put a little white frame around the Christmas house so it stands out a little bit more. I will attach everything with some double-sided tape. This is a quick paper ruffle I made using some white tissue paper. A little bit more stenciling on the plain green cardstock. I'm just going to leave this plain. I'm just going to add the texture paste through the stencil and leave it like that. Not every page has to be super busy. For this page, I'm just adding a simple paper ruffle that I've created with a same paper that I've used throughout the journal. This is a pocket that's from the digital kit. I've just cut it out and I'm attaching it with hot glue. I think a lot of the techniques I'm using are repeated and some are quite self-explanatory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now add some music to the video so you can watch it listening to some music. I don't want to have it just in silence, and I don't also want to be talking through the whole thing because I just tend to repeat things as the techniques are the same. If you do have any questions, though, I'm very, very happy to answer them. Please just put them in the comments below and I will do my very best to answer you. It may not be immediately within the 24 hours. I will get though to all the questions and reply to you. If, however, you do prefer me to talk through everything, even if it is repeating the same techniques and ideas that I'm doing, do let me know in the comments. I would like to know if you prefer listening to the music or me talking. I try to accommodate as many people as possible. I know I can't make everybody happy, but I would like to give you what you like to watch. So do let me know what you prefer.